So now we're going to talk about blood pressure. The reason that high blood pressure is bad is because it's damaging to our arteries and blood vessels. This puts us at risk of a heart attack, heart failure, stroke and kidney disease as well. So we want to try and get that under control. So what we can do to try and improve our blood pressure, look at our weight, making sure that's kept in check and getting it down as much as we can into a healthy weight range. Exercising, so that strengthens the heart muscle. Having a healthy balanced diet, of course. And also looking at our salt intake, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So salt can increase our blood pressure because it causes our body to retain fluid inside our arteries and blood vessels. So reducing our blood pressure, one of the biggest things we can do is reducing our salt. So that blood pressure, salt actually hangs onto water molecules. So that sodium chloride molecule hangs onto water inside our arteries and blood vessels, and that increases the pressure, which is not good for them. So most salt is actually added in processing, which is surprising, rather than naturally occurring. So although we can reduce salt at the table and in cooking, the biggest way to slash your salt intake is reducing your amount of processed foods that you have. Now the other thing is that all salt is the same, which can be quite disappointing. So I've heard people say, oh, I'm having vegetable salt. Vegetables are good for me, so I'm having vegetable salt, or, no, I only have sea salt. I at home personally have the Murray River pink salt, which comes in the box and it's flakes and it's quite pretty and it's pink and it's quite easy to use. However, none of them are good for us. They're all salt. So whether it is table salt, river salt, pink salt, we still want to reduce our salt intake because that can help reduce our blood pressure quite quickly. Now the good news is having salt is a habit. So just like we can acquire a taste, we can unacquire that taste for salt as well. Did you know that we're actually born for a taste preference, with a taste preference for sugar? So what you need to do is basically give it a good go. So it's no good having a low salt meal the next time and thinking, oh, that was awful, how very bland, and then just going, well, I'm going to go back to the way I was. I want you to give it a good go. It can take between 3 and 6 weeks to get used to that new taste. And what people find is once they've decreased their salt intake, the flavours start coming out and you can really start to taste your food a lot better. Salt's a little bit of a taste bud number. So give it a good go, reduce it slowly, and in 6 weeks, after that, if you find that you go out to dinner somewhere or someone else actually prepares your food, it can be really quite salty and overpowering because you're used to that new taste, and that shows that you've done quite well. Another concern is that we need salt for our body's processes, and that's true. However, the requirement is very small. So they used to actually give salt tablets in the army, and that was before we knew what we did now. So just by getting a healthy balanced diet with your fruits and veggies, without adding any salt, that's enough for the body's requirements. So fresh foods do contain a small amount of salt or sodium. So reducing salt to reduce blood pressure, not only reducing it in cooking and at the table, choosing unprocessed foods and fresh foods, low or no added salt products, and we'll talk about that in our label reading section coming up, which will be good and quite exciting, and enjoying lots of fresh fruit and veggies which are naturally low in salt, and also choosing flavour substitutes, so things like herbs and spices and lemon juice, lime juice, shallots. What else could you use? Onions, garlic, anything like that to add a bit of flavour to your food so that you don't notice that salt's missing. And the final bit about salt is we don't generally recommend the salt S or the low salt, sodium light, potassium pressor. There's a lot of different names for it, but they're basically potassium chloride salts. So they taste a little bit salty as well. However, they can put a bit of pressure on the kidneys if you do have damaged kidneys, so we don't recommend substituting that for salt. So on this slide there are some tips for reducing salt and plenty of ideas for you. Just experiment with your cooking.